Don't take your spouse for granted. Don't take each other for granted. It's one of the greatest blessings is to have a righteous spouse. Okay? You know, subhanAllah, in 1989, they came up with a National Domestic Violence Awareness Month. Does anyone know which month that is? It's in October. They have a whole month just to raise awareness on domestic violence. That's how big it is. And you know what's unfortunate? What's unfortunate? We all know, I mean, I don't know, hands up if you know of someone, whether it's a relative, anyone that you've come across that you know have been part of domestic violence. See how many hands? Most people know somebody. Whether it's your parent, whether it's you, whether it's, subhanAllah. And you know what's sad? Is that our scholars hardly speak about this on the minbars in raising awareness. It's very sad. I'm going to give a khutbah soon about it, inshallah. But it's very sad that there needs to be more awareness. It's real. It's actually real. Okay. In some disturbing statistics in the US, 1 in 3 women face physical abuse by their partners. Millions of victims every year. Okay, and this could lead to death. We're talking about. I don't know. There's so many cases of death as a result of domestic violence. There are some serious numbers that you can look up in statistics. Okay. And subhanAllah, then you have those who try and justify it by sort of quoting that verse from the Quran. And if you look at them, they are far away from the Sunnah and far away from following in the injunctions of the Quran and the Sunnah. But they want to now talk about this verse that, I'm allowed to hit my wife. Right? Misguided interpretations. Right? So, subhanAllah, we know the Prophet ﷺ never raised his hand against a woman or a servant, and scholars throughout the history have never justified. I've never seen a scholar actually justify beating a woman. Okay, and what are they beating them? What are they beating them over the most trivial of issues? That's what. It's not happening because he found his partner, in most cases, in bed with another person. But it's over the most trivial of issues. Often it's their own insecurities. It's their own lack of confidence. It's their own shame. It's their own guilt. That's where this is coming from. That's where we see it's coming from. SubhanAllah. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. All right. Let's talk quickly about, you haven't got this in your notes probably, but I wanted to give you different notes. I looked at the notes and I thought, okay, what can I complement with these notes and just give you some practical tips as well. What are 7 signs you're in an abusive relationship? What are 7 signs you're in an abusive relationship? Number 1, the sign to look out for is possessiveness. What does that mean? Extreme control. They're always tracking your whereabouts. Where did you go? Where are you coming? Where are you going? Okay. Putting even a tracker on you. Okay. Asking you to send location, live location. You like that one, send location. Dictating who the other partner can spend time with. That's all part of possessiveness, being possessive. All right, number 2. Are you ready? Another sign, being overly jealous. Jealousy is good. It's good to be jealous over your partner. I like my wife to be jealous over me, and I'm jealous over her, but sometimes it's too extreme. SubhanAllah. See how Islam is against extremism of all sorts. So this means that the abusers may constantly accuse their partners of flirting. They accuse you, you're flirting, you're cheating, right? They limit the interactions, not just with the opposite gender, but with anybody else. Okay, they limit, they're very, in that area, they're just overly jealous. Again, that's their own insecurity. Or it could be that they themselves are guilty of it. They themselves are guilty or have been guilty of it to the extent that it's created a waswas. Right? And a lot of this, subhanAllah, these personality disorders of abusers, of narcissists, It's coming from, again, a place of their own shame, their own guilt, their lack of iman, right? Their qareen. We all have a qareen, we all have a devil that is allocated to us. And there's even different types. And you find, subhanAllah, a person who can be quite narcissistic, for example, or possessing narcissistic traits, they're very childish. They act like a child, right? It's very, very interesting when you start to look at because a lot of abuse happens from abusers who possess narcissistic personality disorder. You've heard of this, right? NPD. You know, one of the best people I've come across in our community that talks about this, if you want to look her up, her name is Muna Al-Idrisi. Muna Al-Idrisi. She's got a book called The Muslim Narcissist. It's a very thick book. Huh? She's a psychologist. She herself was married to a narcissist. And from there, she took it to the next level of research. And she integrates her psychology and her finding and her insights with Islamic knowledge. Very powerful. Like when you start listening to her, if you're really into this stuff, you can't just stop because she's very, very deep. She's probably one of the best that I've seen that's doing justice to this topic. But you just really start, you just get so many. If you've been abused in your life, or you have abusive parents, or narcissistic parents, or a narcissistic spouse, or an ex-spouse, once you start reading and looking into this, you're going to have so many aha moments. You're going to go, wow, I now understand it. It wasn't me. Because they'll drive you insane. They'll make you feel like it's you. That she even wrote recently. She helps narcissists themselves. So sometimes a narcissist in the Western world, when you speak to psychologists and psychiatrists and the like, a lot of them, they say you can't really heal a narcissist. You can't really cure it. Or it's very, very hard. But if you do it through the Islamic insights and knowledge, you can, because Islam is all against abuse, against. So where psychology and has for a long time there is help me out here, social psychology. When it comes to psychology, there's mental psychology. There's all types of psychology when you look at the history of psychology, but there's one area that psychology never looked at, and that was spirituality. And now they're actually looking at spirituality and how spirituality can prevent mental health issues or manage mental health issues and things like that. And subhanAllah, there's a lot of study and research going into that right now as we speak, and they're introducing spirituality into the equation, right? So, so look her up. She's very interesting to listen to. And she has podcasts. She has a YouTube channel with podcasts, and she talks about, your qareen and where it's coming from, where these behaviors are coming from, right? And so this brother, he did her sort of mini course, and he was talking about how beneficial and how he identified himself after learning about the characteristics of narcissists, and how he overcame his narcissism, and he's managing that through her insights. Let's go to another sign, because we want to have a break soon, is degradation. Degradation is a sign that you're in an abusive marriage. So the abusers often, they belittle you, publicly or privately or both. They belittle you. And by the way, there's a term called a codependent. The narcissists love people who are very dependent. So they actually find a person who is going to be a good victim. They actually marry them because they want them to be able to control them. They're called codependents. So often what I say to people in a narcissistic relationship, to the victim, you're part of the problem here because you allow him to do that to you. He can see your weakness. You got to get strong. You got to learn how to be more stronger so he doesn't abuse you and take you for granted. So even though you're not intentionally a part of the problem, but you are a part of the problem because you're allowing it. Okay? And, so you become, you become part of this problem. I was looking for a term. SubhanAllah, I'll probably think about it later. They can abuse you. Continuous criticism. Remember the 4 horsemen? Contemptuous behavior, criticism, defensiveness, right? And who remembers the last one? Stonewalling? Stonewalling, yeah. Very good listeners, mashallah. Okay. They target various aspects like your intelligence or your appearance. Okay, they want to lower your self-esteem. They want to really just. I've seen these victims. Wallahi, it's so sad. They're beautiful people, very beautiful, taken advantage of. Wal-'iyadhu billah. And it just really breaks that. They just break that person. But subhanAllah, when they learn the tools and they have that moment, wow, it's powerful. It's sweet revenge. But anyway, we'll go back. We'll leave that alone for now. Let's go to number 4. The 4th sign is threats. That's a common tactic. They use threats. They threaten to leave you. Now imagine you're a codependent, right? That means they know your weakness. You're codependent, so you're very dependent on that person, and they know that as soon as they say, "I'm going to divorce you," oh no, don't. I'll do anything. Right? You see now how they're part of the problem as well. Threats of becoming violent as well. They know you're weak. So weakness, you don't want to be weak in a relationship. You want to be firm. You want to be confident. Right? Very, very important to be confident. Learn to become that person. Learn to have boundaries, like we spoke about. Learn to have values. Learn to have standards. The 5th sign is they actually are physically violent. They actually physically harm. That's the most evident form of abuse. And it's not limited to culture, believe me. Not limited to socio-economic background or your education level. Okay? I had a sister talk to me about how her husband would pinch her. He pinches her until the extent that one day she was around family, they realized it was bruised. And then she never told anyone. And then the family found out that he's actually abusive. Okay, he does it in a very subtle way, but then he got caught out. A 6th sign, bad temper. So people with abusive tendencies often have uncontrollable temper. They shout, they swear, they damage property. That's how you know you're married to an abuser. They target things that you cherish. Okay, bad temper. Number 7, they're unpredictable. So what does that mean? It means like you as a victim, you feel like you're walking on eggshells because their behavior is unpredictable. You never know what's going to set them off. So you need to be aware and recognizing, you need to be aware of these signs, recognize the signs, inshallah. And many of the victims, they actually wrongly blame themselves because of the continuous criticism and feeling lack of worth, self-worth. You need to feel like you're valuable. You need to feel like you are enough. You need to feel like you are a decent human being. And I had this sister yesterday come and see me with her husband. He's cheated on her like 6 times. And she would actually blame herself, thinking, maybe it's me. That's how they make you feel. She thought it was her. She's the problem.
He cheated on her 6 times?
6 times he's cheated on her. Cheated on her 6 times. But the problem is, they've never done the work properly. That's the thing. Abusers will continue to abuse because they know they can get away with it. Remember what I've always said, the more you tolerate, the more you teach your partner how they can treat you.
But Sheikh, it's not only her fault, because especially in our culture, even her parents, everybody around her, you must have done something wrong. You're not giving him enough. You're not doing this. You might be doing this wrong. And then this is why she believes that she's the problem. It's not only him, it's the whole surrounding.
Be patient. The be patient card comes out.
Yeah,
Have sabr.
You have kids. Just watch what you're doing. But somebody else went through this, they survived. Why can't you do it the same way?
Very dangerous.
It's very, very bad, very bad. That's why
So
she feels
don't be the be patient police around your friends and loved ones.
Look, I can see it happening if it's once and you use the be patient card.
Yes.
But if you're saying 6 times, I think that's once you can say, oh, it's okay. Like, even that's not. I think personally, it's unexcusable. That for me is a red. To be honest with you, that's the line. Draw the line there. Cheating. But if you are gonna say it, maybe the first time, maybe you might say it and use that card. Be patient.
You can, yes.
Look, but 6 times, I think that's a little
you can survive a relationship that goes through infidelity. Like, you can survive it, but as long as you do the work properly, like your partner actually is willing to do the work, and they're willing to understand the severity of what you've done. But to say I apologize, I'm sorry, I promise, wallah, I'll never do it again, I'm sorry, that's not enough. If something is extreme, it needs extreme type of work. You can't just put a band-aid over it. If somebody does something to you that's quite extreme, yeah, like I said, if it was like a one-off, but not no, that was the example you were using about like a one-off, like maybe like they shouted in the moment and they got really violent, they maybe broke the wall, right? They don't normally do that, but hey, we'll do we can probably have a band-aid solution to that. Maybe, right? We'll assess it. But something like infidelity or physical abuse, something that's quite deep, that needs deep therapy. They need something deep.
So I'll just tell you this, being straight up, because both ways, men or women, if there's infidelity, I think personally it's like there's no coming back. That's me personally.
And I know that is the case. But what we've seen in the research is that you can survive a case. I've seen that a lot of times in my own office.
How do you gain the trust? Because I think that's more like a value thing. If that's something that I understand it's probably doable. Maybe it's how we're talking about boundaries, red light. Maybe it's a red light for you, but for someone else, I guess they can take it. But it's about self-respect. It's about value. It's about, if you do it again, how do I trust him the second time? Even with the work, the trauma. I guess it causes trauma.
It does cause, definitely it causes trauma. And definitely it's something that will always be in the back of your mind if you're the victim. Is it manageable? Yes, it is. Is it worth salvaging? I believe it is, especially if there's children. But it has to be done in a systematic way, whereby it's manageable. You can manage it, and you can regain that trust. But it's all about the reference points that you give to the victim. That the victim feels. This is now the sentence that I'm going to come up with now. That you're not only going to get it right, but you're never going to get it wrong. Once the victim feels that this person can't get it wrong because they've done the work, they've really understood. It's like people who probably end up going to jail and come out from a crime. That's it. They're repentful. They've learned. So it all depends on if they've done the work. But to say I'm sorry without doing the work, without counseling, without a course, no, that's naive of you to think that way. Even if and even though the abuser or the one who's committed the crime, they're very sincere. They say, "Wallah, I want to do Wallah," in tears, and I promise. That's not enough. They're genuine, by the way. They're most likely genuine, but they don't know that they don't know. They don't know that it's not just saying I'm sorry and wallah. It's how do you prevent that? What are the tools that you need to prevent you from doing that again? Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. I just want to ask, what's the Islamic rule